Hello and welcome to Annie's Short Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. I'm going to try and upload a new story each day. The Ghostly Rider of Compton Bay. The Isle of Wight, known for its rolling hills and windswept beaches, held many secrets. Among its whispered legends, none was more chilling than that of the Ghostly Rider of Compton Bay. The tale had persisted through the centuries, warning travelers of a spectral horseman who galloped along the moonlit shore. Few dared to venture to the bay after sundown, for those who did spoke of hoofs pounding like thunder and an eerie, mournful cry that lingered long after the rider had vanished. Holly Arnold had always been skeptical of ghost stories. As a journalist, she prided herself on unraveling the truth behind myths and legends, exposing the mundane reality beneath the supernatural veneer. Yet, as she arrived in the quiet village of Freshwater, a strange unease began to gnaw at her resolve. The air felt heavier here, as if the island itself bore the weight of unspoken tales. Holly's assignment was clear: investigate the legend of the ghostly rider and deliver a compelling story. But the deeper she delved, the more she realized this might be her most challenging case yet. Her first night at Compton Bay was uneventful, at least at first. The moon hung low in the sky, casting a silver sheen across the waves. The rhythmic sound of the surf was almost soothing, lulling Holly into a false sense of calm. Then, faintly at first, she heard it, the distant clatter of hooves. Her heart quickened as she scanned the empty shoreline. The sound grew louder, echoing off the cliffs, and then she saw him. Emerging from the swirling mist was a rider clad in dark, tattered garments, mounted on a skeletal horse with glowing red eyes. The figure's face was obscured by a hood, but Holly could feel the weight of its gaze, heavy and sorrowful. Her breath caught in her throat as the rider's steed reared back, letting out an unearthly shriek. And then, just as suddenly as they appeared, the rider and horse dissolved into the fog, leaving Holly trembling and filled with questions. The next morning, she sought answers in the village archives, poring over yellowed newspapers, brittle manuscripts, and faded photographs. The name Sir Edmund Blackwood surfaced repeatedly. A knight who had once owned the land surrounding Compton Bay, Sir Edmund's story was one of betrayal and tragedy. In the late 17th century, he was accused of treason, a charge that locals whispered was the result of a conspiracy by his closest ally, Thomas Grey. Sir Edmund had fled the royal soldiers who pursued him, making a desperate ride along the bay. According to legend, his horse stumbled near the surf, throwing him into the frigid waters where he drowned. Ever since, his restless spirit was said to haunt the bay, searching for justice. Holly decided to visit the ruins of Blackwood Manor, perched precariously on a cliff overlooking the sea. The once grand estate was now a crumbling shell, its windows dark and empty. As she stepped inside, the air grew colder, and a sense of foreboding washed over her. In a small, hidden alcove, she discovered an ancient journal, its pages brittle with age. The entries, written in Sir Edmund's trembling hand, detailed his final days. His words painted a harrowing picture of betrayal and desperation. "I ride tonight," the final entry read, "not to flee, but to confront my betrayer if I fall." Holly's hand shook as she closed the journal. Could the rider's torment be tied to the betrayal of Thomas Grey? And if so, could she find a way to free him? Her investigation took her to a small, withered cottage on the outskirts of the village, where she met Elena Grey, an elderly woman with sharp eyes and a guarded demeanor. When Holly mentioned Sir Edmund, Eleanor's expression hardened. "The Blackwoods and their curse have haunted my family for generations. Thomas Grey betrayed Sir Edmund to claim his lands. He regretted his actions, but never made amends." Elena handed Holly a faded letter written by Thomas Grey on his deathbed. It was an apology to Sir Edmund, a plea for forgiveness that had never been delivered. If only this had reached him. Holly felt a sense of purpose take hold. She decided to return to Compton Bay that night, armed with the letter. The moonlight bathed the beach in a ghostly glow as she waited, the silence around her oppressive. At the stroke of midnight, the rider appeared again, his figure more vivid and imposing than before. Holly stepped forward, her fear tempered by determination. "Sir Edmund," she called. "Your betrayer repented." The rider halted, his horse pawing at the ground. The air grew heavy, charged with an unearthly energy. Slowly, the spectral figure dismounted, the shadows surrounding him swirling like a storm. Holly held up the letter, her hand trembling. The rider's gloved hand reached out, and when it touched the parchment, a sudden gust of wind swept through the bay. A mournful wail echoed across the cliffs, then faded into silence. The rider's form began to shimmer, the dark shadows lifting to reveal a face etched with both sorrow and relief. He nodded once, a gesture of gratitude, before mounting his steed. This time, as he galloped toward the horizon, his form dissolved into a cascade of golden light, disappearing into the night. Holly stood alone on the beach, the bay eerily calm. The haunting was over. As she walked away, she glanced back, half expecting to hear hoofbeats. But only the gentle sound of the waves remained, a reminder of the peace she had helped restore. Her story would captivate readers, but more importantly, it had given voice to a restless soul. For the first time, Holly understood that some legends carried truths deeper than she could ever imagine, and some burdens could only be lifted by those willing to listen. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like, and even better, like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I hope you have had or have a great day.